to action groups. Social Action International is an organization promoting resource democracy, climate justice, and human rights in West Africa through research and monitoring, popular education, and advocacy. Asume Osuoka holds a doctorate in environmental studies from York University in Canada, where he engages in research collaborations with scholars in North America, Europe, and Africa. Asume Osuoka, you're welcome to this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you, Nimo. Thanks to...
you're welcome.
To Homer and Friends of the Earth in Latin America and the Caribbean.
I wanted to be sure that you were hearing me. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Right. It's really amazing. It's amazing to have this conversation across the two continents. And we are very much affiliated to Latin America. If you look at the map of the world, you see the West African coast actually was together, joined together with the eastern coastline of Latin America. And I think the Niger Delta was connected to Orinoco Delta in Venezuela. They're very close. So I'm amazed. Thank you for that. I was amazed when I was looking through the speeches of Thomas Sankara, and I saw one where he said the battle against the encroachment of the desert is a battle to establish a balance between man, nature, and society. And he said, as such, it is a political battle above all, and not an act of faith. In other words, Africans have to take their destiny in their hands and fight for the restoration of the environment. I've been to one of the people that indigenous people that really inspired me in our sub-region is a man called Yakuba Sawadogo. There are documentaries about him, the man who stopped the desert. He's in Burkina Faso. And he worked using local technologies and using local ideas to restore the Sahel back into a forest. And I think such people should be celebrated. I have a sneaky feeling that he must have been inspired by Thomas Sankara's politics and social ideas. So related to this, because this is still a big problem, now the African Union has proposed to erect the Great Green Wall, which is going to be supposed to be a belt of trees, 15 meters deep, 50 kilometers deep, 8,000 kilometers wide, going from Djibouti in East Africa to Dakar in West Africa. Now, if Thomas Sankara were to be alive today, what do you think he would tell the African Union concerning a project of that nature?
Yeah, Thomas Sankara, in response to the need to plant trees, he said that imperialism is the arsonist setting fire to forests and savannas. That it is not just an accident that the Sahel is going, that the savanna is being overtaken by the Sahara, that there is desert encroachment. It is not just a pure accident, but that it is a consequence of colonialism and imperialism. It is a consequence of the colonial plunder of the continent. It is a consequence of an economic system that sees nature to be ravaged for personal profit. That is why we have that situation. That Thomas Sankara understood that France went into Burkina Faso to take away without replacing. And that is one of the things. That if Thomas Sankara, was alive today, he will still be saying that. Even though we're talking, that yes, there's need for a great green wall, but for African leaders, it is not enough. It is not enough to expect that a savior will come from Europe or North America to erect that great green wall. Yes, we recognize that there is the reality of ecological debt. Yes, we recognize that there's a moral responsibility on the part of those countries that have been the source of pollution to pay for the cost of adaptation, for the cost of mitigation of environmental damages that have been caused by climate change. That is the reality. However, it is important, and as Sankara will insist, that African countries and African people recognize the root causes of environmental degradation, and that root should be addressed. You cannot just plant trees without working to change the economic and political system that led to the destruction of the trees in the first place. You cannot just plant trees without empowering the people, because the system that led to the degradation of the environment, to the loss, to the crisis, the ecological crisis in the Sahel, is still in practice. It is still going on. That system is even more entrenched right now. It is important to work to eradicate that system. That is important. Became aware of climate change. Sankara was already suggesting that the desertification of the Sahel was a manifestation of the unjust exploitative system, the social system. We know that clearly now. It is more clear now because of the science, and because of the advocacy that has been done around climate change in the past few decades. So for Sankara, ecological restoration is an aspect, it's an integral aspect of the decolonization process. That is why Sankara, I mentioned before, Sankara encouraged tree planting, massive tree planting campaign in the country. At a point, he insisted that those who are residing in government-owned houses or who were buying government-owned houses had to plant trees. There was a requirement that you needed to plant trees. Even that was long, before climate change became something that everybody talks about in the world today. 10 million trees were planted in a period of about 15 months. School children and women in Burkina Faso were encouraged to build fuel-efficient wood stoves to reduce fuel wood consumption and the cutting down of trees. All this were done. It is important to know that all of these things were done without foreign aid or the involvement or the intervention of international NGOs. Villages and families were encouraged to restore wood groves, or what we could call sacred groves. People in various villages were encouraged to go to form cooperatives for the purpose of planting streets for ecological restoration. So Thomas Sankara understood that, and he said it, that this is not just ecological restoration in the Sahel and elsewhere. It's not just a matter, it's not just a technical project. It's not just a matter of people, governments and international multilateral development agencies coming with experts, with engineers, with ideas for gigantic projects, dams and irrigation projects, some of which have exacerbated the ecological crisis. For example, today we are talking about Boko Haram in Nigeria. There's a Boko Haram conflict in Nigeria, but what many people don't understand around the world is that Boko Haram has emerged partly because of the ecological crisis in the Sahel, generally, but the Lake Chad Basin in particular. And there was a period, Lake Chad Basin the Lake Chad is the largest body of fresh water. It used to be the largest body of fresh water in the Sahel region and was a source of the livelihood of millions of people in Nigeria, in Cameroon, in Chad, and in Niger. But over the period from the 1970s and 1980s, the Lake Chad almost completely vanished. By the 1990s and the 2000s, there was a period when the Lake Chad almost completely vanished. And the reason why the Lake Chad almost completely dried up was because of partly because of the dams and irrigation projects that were constructed, on the advice of international development agencies, Western foreign, export credit agencies, the World Bank, and other such agencies. They gave loans to African countries, whether it is Nigeria, whether it is Cameroon, to build huge dams to address desertification, without consideration for the ecological dynamics of the area, without the participation of the local people. So the effect of these dams was first and foremost that the Lake Chad was starved of water because the natural hydrological regime was severely disrupted. Water was no longer flowing to the Lake Chad. And also, irrigation agriculture was organized in such a way, following the building of those dams, irrigation agriculture was organized in such a way that land, the government took away the land from the people and handed over irrigated land to the rich and the powerful, those that were connected to power. So in Nigeria, it is common to have ex-generals, those that were in government, who are now farmers, who are now big farmers in the Lake Chad Basin. In Borno State, in Adamawa State, you have them. The people like Motala Yanko, those like that, those are the biggest farmers in Nigeria. Those that used to farm the land, that dependent on the land, the peasants, the common people were pushed away from the land. And that is the reality of development. That is the reality of development. And when they were pushed away from the land, they end up in the slums of the cities like Maiduguri. And it is their children who have no employment. It is their children who have lost livelihoods, who became easy prey to Boko Haram.